Does my camera look okay coming back to you?
Yeah, it looks good.
Okay.
And I think, oh, I'm on the wrong screen, so I can't tell if it's working or not. There we go. It's working. We're live. Boy, I put a poll out asking if people thought that the Mandalorian stuff was true or not. Right now, it's sitting at 50-50.
Right down the middle.
Right down the middle. All right. Let me open up my Reaper. There it is. It's already open, actually. And you want to get started?
Yeah, let's make a podcast, my friend.
All right. Hey, everybody. Happy to see you. Here we go. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to Stadiacast. I'm Bill. That's Lloyd. What's going on, Lloyd?
Not much, man. Can you believe it's almost September? Like, what happened to this year? It's like school time starting for my kids. I don't understand what's happening here.
School time is starting for me officially like this week. I'm back at work. So thanks for bringing it up. I wasn't sad at all about the quickly disappearing vacation that I've been on. Although I've been working like every day anyway.
Hey, look, Bill, you have video games behind you. Be happy. It's okay. Don't think of the other thing that I said. Just look behind you at all the nice video game stuff you have.
All right. Fair enough. That's what I will do. But before I do that, I just want to let everybody know that if you're listening to this on your favorite podcasting app, a couple of things. Number one, you can watch us do the show live every single Sunday morning, 10 a.m. U.S. Eastern over at nerdnest.tv. Number two, we have other shows that you can listen to on that podcasting app. Lloyd has Nintendo Pulse. I have Nintendo Switchcraft. Yes, we both have Nintendo shows. We also have a new show, which is called On Deck, about the Steam Deck. And I have another show called 143 Pixels. So, look at all that stuff on your favorite podcasting app. And then when you're done subscribing to all that, come over to nerdnest.tv and subscribe. And if you're already here live and you want to hang out with us and make sure that we see your messages, you can use the super chat feature. You can click on the join button. There's a billion buttons to click on YouTube, and they all help the algorithm to tell YouTube that this is good content to show to other people. All right, we got that stuff out of the way. Lloyd, what have you been playing?
I've only been playing a little bit of games this week, but I did manage to put another like 5-6 hours into Young Souls, and I beat the game. What a fantastic game. In fact, it's in my running for game of the year. It's right up there for the best games I've played so far in 2021. It is just a amazing RPG with fun characters, fun bosses, really great story, and the tag team mechanic that's built into it, because you're a set of twins, is just smart. So you could have one character that is more of a melee, fast, kind of like roguey with daggers, and you can have one that has like a big shield. When you switch between your characters, temporary damage on the one twin will heal if they're not currently active, so you're constantly switching in battle. There's a full co-op mode, so you can play the whole game with a friend in local couch co-op. Just an amazing game that literally came out of nowhere. I knew nothing about this game until I saw it drop on Stadia. I took a chance, picked it up, and just absolutely loved it. I think it took me about 13 hours to beat the game, so it's not even a really long game. So if you're looking for something that is quick and easy to get through, for $20-ish, Young Souls is a pretty fantastic package right now.
Awesome. I definitely think that's something that I will look at later on down the road. Right now, I have so many games to play that I just can't even think about it at this point, picking up something new. So this week I played a little bit of Destiny 2. We now have cross play, and we'll talk about that later on in the show. I've been playing both on my Xbox and on Stadia, and it's working really, really well. So I have absolutely zero complaints there. And I also, not on Stadia, but I've been playing Halo. I did a stream earlier this week because I'd never played a Halo game. And everybody was like, oh my God, you've never played a Halo game. And sorry, I just missed out for some reason. So I was playing Halo 1, and I played it for like 3 hours on stream. And then I proceeded to, I shut the stream down, went and did other things. And then I continued to play it that day. And then I finished it the next day. So now I'm moving on to Halo 2, and I know it's not on Stadia, but um like as somebody who's never played those games, oh man, what a fun experience that was. Except for, I will say this, except for the final mission in Halo
Right.
1, I
Right.
really hated that. That was terrible, and I I just despised it.
Yeah,
But you know, this morning I sat down. I've been playing some more Destiny 2, and every time I play it, I forget how beautiful that game is. It's just
it
such a
is.
gorgeous game, and the lighting and everything about it is beautiful. And you know, it's the same company that made Halo. So as I sit down to play Destiny, I'm constantly now at this point reminded, oh, okay, well,
The
maybe you should
DNA.
go find out what's going on with Master Chief.
The DNA of the game from Halo definitely made its way into Destiny 2. I played a little bit of Destiny 2 as well because of the crossplay stuff. I was dropped into the new story mission because that's what happens. They came out with
Mhm.
a new chapter, so you're dropped into the story mission, and I was underpowered for the story mission, so that really sucked really bad.
Yeah.
I had to nope right out of it. I'm like, why would they do that? That is horrible onboarding. But it's really good that the cross-platform stuff is there. As for Halo, I just want to say I'm incredibly impressed you didn't bounce when you got to the level of the library, because that is by far the worst mission in any of the Halos. It's like the same corridors, the same platforms, the same everything for like an hour. It was just such a terrible mission to get through.
Mhm.
But you got through it, so I'm impressed. That's awesome.
As far as Destiny 2 goes, my biggest criticism with that game, I love the gameplay itself, but my biggest criticism, it's like I had this figured out back in 2019 when I first played Destiny 2. Like I played it for a little bit, and after about a month and doing some live streams, I had figured out like how you go about doing stuff. But since then, I've forgotten everything. And so I sat down and I was like, I'm going to play a Titan this time instead of a Warlock. And I played a little bit, and now I just
Right.
can't figure out what I'm supposed to do or where I'm supposed to go. The UI is a disaster, and I can't,
Yeah.
it's so complicated. And I wish I could just open up my quest and my quest tracker and say open on map and have it open to the exact map that I'm supposed to go to, and then hit transport there, so I don't have to
Right.
like look around for what I'm supposed to do. And then like one of the quests that I had, which you have to read the quests, which I mean
Mhm.
that's not a real criticism, but like I didn't read the quest for a while, and so I couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong. Finally I read the quest. It was like, make sure that you do a bounty for person X, and I was like, oh, okay. So I went and found person X. I got a bounty for them. I went and I was trying to do the bounty, and I'm like, why isn't it telling me that it's done? You can't
Right.
track the bounties, so like you have to go into the bounty thing each time to look and see how you've progressed. And I was like, okay, I finished it, went back to the dude, talked to him, nothing happens. Oh, that's right, I have to go into the bounty screen and
Yeah.
claim the bounty after I finished it. It's like all of these ridiculous steps that you have to go through over and over again, that are completely unnecessary. And I don't understand it.
Yeah, it is kind of a big mess. The thing that I really wish that they had is you could open up kind of like a stories panel where it says, okay, Destiny 2 launched with this content, and it shows all the content in order, all the story missions, what you've completed,
Hmm.
because I want to go back and play through all the story content. From what I understand, some of the story content isn't there anymore because they've taken locations away. But it'd be really nice if I could start with base Destiny 2 stuff, and then they added the silver watchmadoos. Okay, here's all the questions, and here's the platinum whatever, and you can go through all this stuff, because it really confuses things when you have all these disparate missions on your mission tab. It's like, here's an icon that's red and yellow and green and purple, and this one has a bar on it, this one doesn't. It's not super easy to come back to for someone that really hasn't played Destiny 2 much since launch, and I want to get in and maybe play some of the content that I was working on. So they need a better onboarding. They need a better kind of menu structure, because it is a mess, and they keep changing it. It seems with every addition, like whether it's a new season or a new chapter, they change the UI, but it's all terrible. It's never really been that good. So that's my only criticism with Destiny 2. But the people that love Destiny 2 have been playing it since launch, and they don't care because they've already done all that content. So this is just someone coming back to the game. It's a little bit tough.
Yeah, and it's the same kind of thing that you would say to like somebody that plays Monster Hunter. When you
Right.
play Monster Hunter and you've played all of the other Monster Hunters, it makes perfect sense. When you're a newbie in Monster Hunter, you're like, I don't understand why this doesn't work. Oh, well, that's because you have to understand this mechanic, this mechanic, this mechanic, and this mechanic. And once you
Right.
understand those mechanics, then this thing makes perfect sense. And I'm like, okay, that's great. But you got to teach people how things work in your game. You can't just expect that they will know
Right.
everything from like 2 decades of your game. And I know Destiny 2 isn't that like doesn't have that much depth, but it
Right.
feels like it because everything is all spread out and confusing. And somebody in chat just says there's too much content in Destiny 2. That's not the problem. I think the problem is just the way it's organized. Anyway, I didn't want to sit here and complain about Destiny 2 for as long as we have, so I'm going to move on. I really like the game.
Yep.
I'm enjoying playing it. I just wish it were simpler as far as just to tell me where to go. All of the gameplay combat stuff is top notch, and I
Yep.
really, really like it. All right, moving on. Some of you probably saw this story earlier this week. I did a video about it, in fact, where there was apparently some footage that was leaked of an upcoming Star Wars The Mandalorian game and coming to Stadia. And I made my video and I talked about, all right, well, of course, take everything with a grain of salt. This stuff you can I won't say easily. You can fake this stuff with a certain amount of work.
Mhm.
And but what I saw was like pretty impressive. So
Yep.
I was like, maybe it's real. And so I kind of just assumed I didn't assume it's real, but I made the video on the basis of an assumption that it's real and what would it be like, that kind of thing. And so if you haven't seen that video, you can go back and watch that, and I talk more in depth about the game. But at this point, I feel like enough time has gone by that I've gotten a little more distance from it, and there's more information that's come out, and I think that this is fake. And Lloyd, before we really dive into it, I'm curious, what's your opinion? Do you think it's real or not?
Well, there's many ways that you can classify real. I'll tell you what I think, and then you'll see if I'm the same as you or if I've diverged a little bit from what your thoughts are. I think it's a real game. I think someone worked on this. They made a playable slice for a pitch. And we know that LucasArts and the Star Wars people were looking at expanding the number of studios that were working on Star Wars titles. So you can assume at some point someone made a request for pitches, and someone worked on this really amazing kind of snapshot of Mando, and with all the playable weapons, all the armor, all the characters, some of the locations, and put it out there as a hey, we would like to do this, and then nothing happened. The pitch wasn't accepted or whatever. So this developer has a prototype of a game that could be still worked on, set in the Star Wars universe that this person or persons had worked on for a very long time. But I don't think this was ever a project that was in like real development at a real like larger studio that was then leaked out. I think this was more of a look what I can do. I would love to work on a Star Wars title. Here it is. The video is pretty impressive. Like the lighting, the locations, the weapons and everything. It looks pretty impressive. But I don't think this is the sign that we're getting a Star Wars title in the near future that is set in the Mandalorian universe. That
Yeah.
said, I wish it would be because that's some of my favorite Star Wars content. I love the kind of like Ronin samurai Western one guy with a gun kind of take on Star Wars that they did with Mandalorian. So I hope this is a real thing.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. is the idea of it being like this, you know, a small team or one guy or whatever who had worked on this game and submitted it. All of that makes sense right up until you see the Stadia UI at the end. And that Stadia
Okay.
UI at the end, um, like Vivi plays, who like they had somebody had dropped this in our community Discord. Vivi plays had posted that they went through the footage frame by frame, and I wish I had thought of that. Um, at the very end, when the Stadia UI comes up, and it doesn't match the way that the Stadia UI comes up when you actually do it, almost like somebody did everything that you just said that they did, Lloyd, using like the Unreal Engine and stuff, because other people are like, "Oh, that animation right there is from," and I don't know how people can recognize this stuff, but I'm not a developer, so whatever. Um, like that animation right there is like from the Unreal store, so like you can buy animation sets or whatever and bring
Mhm.
them into your game in order to streamline your development process, and people like recognize the animation, I guess.
Right.
Um, and then you take that. So I do think somebody sat down and made this playable snapshot, just like you said. But then I think that they did some video editing in order to get the Stadia stuff on top of it, and that's where I feel like makes it absolutely fake. What do you think there?
I don't know. I looked at the thing sliding in, and the change to the animation can be summed up or I don't know, explained away a couple ways. He I saw some of the chat back and forth with people that were trying to dissect it. One person that was looking at it only had the new Chromecast, where people had
Mm,
the older Chromecast, where it did animate in. It didn't just appear like it does on Chrome. Sometimes it animates in, but if your CCU's under load, sometimes that menu would take it would kind of like, I don't know, stutter a little bit as was coming out. So I think the Stadia slide out is real.
that makes
I
sense.
don't. It could just be this person has worked on Stadia stuff in the past. They have access to the Stadia dev kits where they can upload a build and then play it on their home devices. If anything, I think that's probably what it is. But we won't know until we know. I'm sure this person will come out and say, "Yeah, it was a big fake. Here's assets I pulled out of Battlefront. Here's assets that I pulled out of this tutorial thing that comes with Unreal Engine. Here's all this stuff, and this is how I mocked it up and brought it together." But I do think it is a playable game that someone was working on as a bigger pitch for a title that they want to release for whatever larger game studio they work for.
Yeah. I will also say, and this is this is, in my opinion, is the clincher as to why. Not that it's not a real thing that you can play. I do
Mhm.
believe that it is a thing that you can play because that is much easier to accomplish than video editing this exact thing, because it just looked too good for video editing, which is, as somebody who edits a lot of video, that's where my mind went first when I saw it. And I looked at it and I said, was just too good for somebody to just video edit this thing together like that. But for an actual built playable section, I do agree with that. Here's the reason why I don't think we will ever see this game. LucasArts or Disney hasn't taken this down yet. Like, this
Right.
video is still up. If it were real, that guy's YouTube channel would have had a strike against it. Disney's lawyers would have came in with their mouse ears on and beat this guy to death, and we never would have seen from this person again. Because it's still there, I think that says there's no way it's real.
Yeah, we know that there was a lot of Star Wars games in production. I have a lot of friends in development, some who are working at studios that are working on Star Wars titles. I found out about so many Star Wars games that were coming out.
Oh yeah.
Two in particular that never came out, and one that came out recently that a friend of mine was working on that I knew about for years. But you never know. Like, if you have friends in development, they talk about games that are in development at friend studios or their own studios. Most of the time these games never come to light, so this could have just been maybe something that was made for Battlefront even, and it was like a small little slice for a free add-on for Battlefront, and it never happened. Or as what I think actually happened, This is just a person or a small team that was putting a pitch together, came up with this playable slice. Nothing came from it. We'll never be able to play it. But hopefully, if that is indeed the thing, this person will put up a full playthrough of all the content that they did, because it looks pretty darn impressive. And as much as I want an exclusive Star Wars game for Stadia, that's not going to happen. If anything, this would be multi-platform. This isn't like an exclusive Stadia game, if it is even a game. But yeah, I'd like to see more of what this thing is, or if it's a big joke and they were just putting it out there to stump the internet. I want them to come out with a video on how they did that as well.
Yeah, because I remember back when they were like somebody had faked Smash Brothers stuff, and they like, it was really well done. The level of video editing that they went through in order to fake the Smash Brothers character reveal. And then later on, they showed a video. This is how I did it, and it was really impressive. Annoying, but impressive.
Right.
I asked Chad. I said, "Do you think Mandalorian footage is an actual game?" 56% said no. 43% said yes. I think that I can't believe it's that close. I do think it's a actual playable thing. I don't think we will ever see it.
Right. Yeah. 100%. If anything, I want to see a version of this that isn't filmed off of a TV with small kids sitting in front of it.
Yeah.
I want to see a direct capture so I can look at it a little bit better. But whoever worked on this, good job. This is it was fun to watch, even though it was only 4 minutes. I'd love to play the full title.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what it reminds me of? That the guy, or I guess it was a group of guys that they redid a deep fake of a character on a show. I won't say which one.
Yeah.
And then because I don't want to spoil things for people. And then Disney hired them and said,
exactly.
You know what? You work for us now. That's so good. That's better than we could do. You work for us now. Really, really impressive. All right. Moving on. We got this week on Stadia with some new pro titles that are on their way. And I'm not on the right thing on my stream deck here. Here we go. So we got 3 pro titles coming: Little Big Workshop, Wave Break, and Darksiders 2. I want to start with Darksiders 2 real quick. Darksiders, if the only Darksiders game that you played was the one that was on Stadia, which was Darksiders Genesis. Yeah.
Yep.
The other Darksiders games don't play like that. I mean, they're still, they have a different perspective. They still kind of play the same, but they have a different perspective, which is why I was so confused when I looked at Darksiders Genesis and thought, oh, this is like Diablo. No, it's more like Darksiders 2, but from a top-down, or Darksiders games, but from a top-down perspective. So Darksiders 2, I would say a lot of people would describe this as Zelda, but dark. And
yeah, it's like
so
adult Zelda.
What's that?
It's like adult Zelda. It's like your Zelda move to like HBO or FX Plus, right? And it's the game you know and love, but with some grit and grime and violence thrown in on top of it.
There you go. So that's what Darksiders 2 is. Now there's Wave Break, which both Lloyd and I were incredibly excited for, and then when it came out, we were both pretty disappointed. Not because it's a bad game, but because the game, and I'm just speaking for myself right now, but because the game was so insanely difficult that I never wanted to go back to it again. And I know that they made some changes and updates, but that's the reason I stopped playing. Does that work for you?
Yeah, the initial content, I couldn't get through any further. I just did not have the skills to get further to unlock more content. It seems that since then they've put a park editor into it. There's a bunch of other stuff that has made this game much better. I'm interested to check it out again because I haven't played it since prior to launch. Famously, this was the one game that I was streaming with my privacy stuff or playing with my privacy stuff set wrong, and everyone's like, "Look, people from Stadiacast are playing Wave Break." It's like, crap. Okay, gotta lock down my settings a little bit. So yeah, I'd love to get back and play this game a little bit more because there has been a lot of additions to the initial release.
All right. Why don't you tell people about this next game, Little Big Workshop, while I remember to put the next poll in chat.
Sure. So Little Big Workshop is a fun little it's like a sim game. So if you've played Sim City or Sim Ant or Sim Earth way back in the day, but this is or you're simulating a workshop. So someone that has built a factory and needs to make other widgets to make money to then buy bigger equipment and make more widgets to make more money. So it's very much a simulation game like that where you're making stuff in a factory. The really cool thing about this is kind of the aesthetic. It's almost like all the characters in your game are these little wooden figures that are kind of like just trumbling around and doing stuff. I had a lot of fun with the game when it first came out. I didn't get too far with it because there's a point that I hit with many simulation games where it's like, okay, I'm now in the part where levels take multiple hours to complete, and I don't have that time. That's kind of how these games go. But what I played with it, I really enjoyed. So it's a pretty decent collection of 3 games, Bill. It is interesting though that we got Darksiders 2, not 1 or 3. So yeah, I don't know. Let's jump right into the middle of the story, I guess.
We've seen that so many times where they release a game, and I can't tell you exactly when, but I know that we've had this conversation before where
Mhm.
they release the sequel before the original game, and
Metro
then
Exodus.
later on we get the original game, and I'm like, why didn't you release them in order on Stadia Pro? And of course,
Yeah,
the reason is because, oh, I now have Darksiders 2. I guess I'll buy Darksiders 1 so I can get caught up on the story. Do you think that's what
right.
it is?
I think that could be part of it. I know when Metro Exodus came out, it's like, oh yeah, I've already played this game, and this is where I got stuck, and there's this boss battle, and everyone's like, well, that boss battle's not in this game. This game just came out. I'm like, no, I played this years ago on my 360. No, I played the original Metro, not Metro Exodus, but I foolishly assumed that the first game would come out before the new game, and I was incorrect. The same Justin in chat room is saying Metro and the SteamWorld games. Yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
they were
Although
released
those
in weird
aren't
orders.
that doesn't oh no, yeah, SteamWorld Dig that does matter.
Yeah, Dig 2 came out before Dig 1, I
Hmm.
think, or on Pro. So yeah, I think there's maybe something to that. Let's release the second one. People will buy the first and the third one, so that they can play number 2 and kind of saddle it up right in the middle of those 2 titles.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, of these three games, I'm probably most excited for Darksiders 2. Oh, let me ask you a quick question about Little Big Workshop. You
Mhm.
said that a level can take like a couple, you can save in the middle of a level, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay,
So
good.
as you get further, you have to build bigger things that you can't get to until you've increased all the different machinery that you have in your workshop. So it takes a little bit longer to finally get to the point where you need to complete the level. So that's kind of when I sort of bounced when things were taking more than like 15 minutes a level. I was like, okay, I don't need to play this right now. I can come back to it.
All right. August 31st, which is coming up in just a couple of days, the last day for you to pick up Gunsport, Blue Fire, or Chronos. Um, Absolutely, you want to pick up those. I know Lloyd is a huge
Yeah.
fan of Blue Fire. I didn't really care for
Mhm.
Blue Fire myself. Gunsport, I feel like, is constantly overlooked. It's this weird volleyball with guns game, and it's super quick and easy to pick up. You should definitely check that out if you haven't. And Chronos, oh my God, that game is fantastic. Now, Lloyd, I'm guessing you probably wouldn't like it because it's a Souls like as far as the
Ah,
combat goes, but so much fun. And what a weird and awesome world. I've talked about it on the show endlessly. So,
right.
Chronos, I'm a huge fan of you want to pick those up before August 31st because after August 31st, you won't be able to claim those games anymore. If you already claimed them, you'll still be able to play them, but you can't claim them anymore.
Exactly. Yeah, Chronos is decent. I'm not a huge fan of Souls-like games, as I've talked about many times, but definitely worth claiming, even if it's something you never play. It's always another game to add to your library that you can come to when you're a little bit bored and need something new to play.
All right, moving on to this tweet from, I'm trying to see who it is. Stoked for Good. It doesn't, I don't know, I don't recognize them, but apparently they got an email, and I get these from time to time from various people who have my email address, which is kind of irritating. And I probably got this too and just deleted it because 9 times out of 10, I don't read my emails when like I get so many emails from game companies just saying, "Hey, here's a new thing," because I'm on this like some press list or whatever, but it says, "Please rate your interest in the following types of streaming subscription services, cloud gaming platforms like Google Stadia and PlayStation Now." And they're talking about like it's just a Fortnite um uh poll.
Yeah,
Yeah, Fortnite poll.
yep.
Um it's weird to me that they mentioned Stadia and PlayStation Now, but not Xbox Cloud Gaming. And well, it's already on GeForce Now, right?
Yes, it is on
Yeah, it is.
GeForce Now.
Okay.
Yep.
It's weird that they mentioned PlayStation Now, but not Xbox. But okay. But they mentioned Stadia, and they don't mention Luna either. That's also weird. But um,
Yeah.
what do you think about this?
I think it's Epic gathering information like they always do. I get these Fortnite surveys all the time, and it's like, how would you rate your experience with Chapter 2, Season 2? And I'm like, well, that's like a year ago. I don't know. How did you like this item from Fortnite? Save the World. I don't play Save the World. So they're often filled with like a bunch of fluff questions, in addition to the things that the survey was planned for. So this has interest in streaming subscription services. They talk about cloud gaming. They talk about movie and TV. They talk about music streaming. So everyone's like, "Oh my God, Fortnite's coming to Stadia. This is amazing." Well, I would agree. It would be amazing. I don't think that's happening anytime soon. Although I really wish it would happen tomorrow because I play a lot of Fortnite on my Xbox and through GeForce Now and my Nintendo Switch. It would be really convenient for me to boot it up on my phone every once in a while when I want to like check my missions and what's in the item shop.
Yeah, I mean, it's just weird that this happened right after it was. I don't know if leaked is the right word, but that it was leaked that basically Epic Games said, "Oh, you want to have Fortnite on Stadia? Then give us no put the Fortnite launcher on Google Play Store for free."
Right. Right.
And it's funny that like the week or maybe it was 2 weeks, I can't remember when we talked about this, but like a short time after that comes out, this comes out. I just think it's very, very interesting timing
It,
wise.
It is. I had this survey in my inbox and I hadn't gotten to it yet. I tend to do surveys almost all the time for Fortnite because I really love the game. And I'll spend the 10 minutes to do the survey. But it was sitting in my inbox. I saw this pop up on Reddit and then on Twitter. And then the next day I went to go do the survey. And as you choose your language, which was English for me, the next slide says, "Oh, this survey has been deactivated by survey owner." And it's like, oh, interesting.
Wow, that's
So
weird.
someone leaked out some info from the current survey and then the survey gets deactivated right away. So I don't know. I don't want to read anything into that. Sometimes surveys are only active for a short period of time, or they get the number of answers that they wanted, then they disable it. But I thought that was interesting timing as well.
Yeah, I would say that probably what happened is they got enough answers and they were like, okay, we don't need any more data, so we're just going to
100%.
shut it off. That makes sense to me. My
Yep.
my initial reaction was like, whoa, conspiracy theory time. But it like almost instantaneously, I was like, okay, let's be rational about it. It's probably just because they're a giant corporation that sent out I don't even know how many emails. I'll bet you that if I look in my email, I'll probably find this survey as well. But
Mhm.
they sent out all these emails and they got plenty of feedback and they don't have to wait around forever in order to get the feedback that they need. But which, by the way, speaking of feedback really quickly, I did ask which pro game are you guys the most interested in. 47% said Darksiders 2, 25% said Little Big Workshop, 12% said Wavebreak, and 14% said just show me the results, probably meaning that they aren't interested in any of those.
Mhm.
All right, anything else?
I don't think so. I really hope Fortnite comes to Stadia, but I don't think this survey really means anything other than they're just looking for info on what people are excited about.
All right, we talked about Destiny 2 a bunch, so I don't know how much I want to talk about. Let's talk just a little bit about the crossplay. It's it's so much easier to find people to play with now, of course,
Yeah.
because now you are matched against everybody. the way that crossplay in Destiny 2 works is actually really, really cool. In PvE, every single player is in the same pool of
Yeah.
players. Everybody can play with each other. I was playing on my Xbox. I was playing with, I think it was Eddie from our community Discord. He was on Stadia. We couldn't hear each other through the game. So voice chat doesn't work. And I think that they said that. So we just hopped on Discord and we were talking as we went through and did a mission, but it was just seamless. We did have some people who were trying to like join the clan, the Nerd Nest clan, and they couldn't because the Nerd Net, like, I guess the whole clan system, I don't know if it's fixed yet, but on day one, the whole clan system was broken.
Yeah.
You couldn't do anything. But in PvE, everybody's matched together, and then in PvP, you are matched based on how you're playing. So console players are matched together, and
Yep.
PC is matched with Stadia. My one quibble with that is that I would prefer that they match you based on your input method instead of what device that you're on. But I
Mm.
mean, I guess that's not that big of a deal. In fact, I did have somebody posted in our community Discord. They showed a screenshot that they were like the number one. They were playing on Stadia on controller, and they had defeated all the people that they were playing against on PC. So, I guess maybe it doesn't matter nearly as much. I'm
Sure.
not sure.
Yeah, it's really cool because I played a couple missions just when crossplay came out just to see, and it was really interesting looking at the people that are around you in the world, and you're seeing Xbox icons and then you see the odd Stadia icon, and I'm like, there's more of us out there. This is fantastic. I think every game coming out nowadays needs this just to keep their audience kind of playing together. So if Xbox players start to get bored of the game doesn't die on Xbox because
Mhm.
people that are playing are still playing with all the other people. I know Sony is probably the reason to blame for how slow the uptake on these things are, just because we found out through the lawsuits that Sony charges developers for the number of people that are playing on non-Sony systems. Because of crossplay, and it's like this weird this weird algorithm they come up to figure out how much Bungie owes them, which is just such a ridiculous thing to do in this day and age. Hopefully that goes away. Hopefully that is I don't know, a slide from a bygone era, and maybe Sony isn't doing that anymore. Because it's amazing to jump into Destiny and just see I don't know, the moon not being desolate. Well, I mean, it's a moon, so it's desolate, but desolate for the number of people that are running around doing stuff just randomly around you. It was great to see post crossplay launch.
So the speaking of crossplay, sorry, my brain stopped working because I was in the middle of typing when you finished your thought. um, Speaking of crossplay, there's another game that is getting crossplay, and that is Ember. And I know you played
Yeah.
a bunch of Ember. You want to tell for the people who haven't played Ember, you want to tell them about that?
Yeah, it's like what happens if in the future the gig economy comes to more things than just picking you up food and TaskRabbit and Uber. There's a service called Ember, and you can sign up to be a volunteer firefighter, and you get access to all sorts of cool little firefighting gear through your phone, and you go and save people and throw them to their death off the tops of burning buildings and stuff like that. So it's a game that looks very much like it was originally designed for VR, just because of the character models and how you have kind of like these floating hands in front of you. From talking to the developers, it was never really a VR game, but I've kind of fell in love with this game when it first came out. It was so much fun to go through and clear out all the missions. Since launch on Stadia, they've come to other platforms, and they've also added a whole pile of new content to the game, different things that you can do in the Ember world. So yeah, adding crossplay between PC consoles and Stadia is going to make for some fun firefighting, since you can get into, I think it's 4-player lobbies, but now you don't have to be just 4 people on Stadia. It can be across all the different platforms, which is great.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the kind of move that will, like, when you talk about a minute ago, we were talking about Destiny, and you talk about how a game can die on one platform because people on that platform aren't really playing that game, while on another
Sure.
platform it's doing really, really well. And if you don't happen to be on platform A, and
Mhm.
that means that you don't have anybody to play with, that's really, really terrible. Having crossplay in a game like Destiny 2
Mhm.
isn't as big a deal as having crossplay in a game like this, a much smaller
Right.
game where more like you have a much smaller number of people that are playing, and so having those people spread out among bunch among a bunch of different platforms, god, that's a bad sentence, um is kind of a big deal. Bringing all of those people together is huge. When you play on Destiny 2, even on Stadia, you can usually have found people to play with. And yeah,
Yep.
you might be a while for like Crucible or something for like the
Sure.
PvP stuff, but if you wanted to find some people to play with, it would take a little bit longer, but it wasn't ridiculous. But when you talk
Right.
about smaller games, it's much more impactful, I think.
Yeah, it's a difference between 5 people currently playing when you're in the game and 500 people potentially playing at the same time. So, yeah, it's huge for smaller games like Ember. I really love that Ember's still around, though. Like it launched in early access, and I kind of wondered what that would mean for the development. They've put a bunch of content into the game. So yeah, the full release that is coming out, which is a little bit over a year after the game first entered the early access, there's going to be 2 brand new districts, 12 new levels, 13 new tools, 5 brand new game modes, daily and weekly missions, extra difficulty modes, and mutators and clothing and stuff like that. So I think this game did really well in early access, and it was really great to see. This is one of the success stories from Stadia Early Access, because it launched there first, and then it went to PC and then consoles, and now it's coming out with the full final release, and it looks like it's a much better game than when it first started in early access.
Yeah, I'm waiting for it to come to Oculus Quest. We have a Quest 2. Well, my
Nice.
son has a Quest 2 that he lets me use from time to time. And if this seems like the perfect, like you said at the beginning of this segment, this seems like the perfect game for VR.
Yeah.
I didn't like the way that it controlled when I was playing it. It bothered me for some reason. And I think that if I were to play this on VR, I
Hmm.
would be okay with the way that it plays. And
Fair.
so my fingers are crossed that this game comes to Oculus, because then I'll try it out. Or I'll try it again. I played it on Stadia. But then I'll try it again and see what it's like. I really hope it comes to Quest 2. I did run a poll asking, are you playing Destiny 2 again? And it is split right down the middle, 50-50. So that's surprising to me. A lot of close polls today. All right.
Yeah.
This one is very interesting to me. One of my biggest criticisms of Stadia as a whole was the way that controllers connect to the surface and service, not surface. Um, and like when you look at Luna, which I have a Luna controller here. And when you connect your Luna controller to the service, it's a little dusty. Um, it it doesn't matter what screen you're using, it just works exactly the same. So if I have Luna up on my PC here, and I've got it on my phone right here, and I've got it on the TV over there, doesn't matter. I can see everything that I'm doing on all three of those. And you go back to prior to November 2019, and you'll probably hear Lloyd and I say that that's what we expected to happen with Stadia. But with
Hmm.
Stadia, you have to put in like a code. And look, listen, this is not a big deal. Okay. It's not a big deal that you have to put in a code, but I don't understand why you have to put in a code. And maybe in the future, we won't have to put in a code.
Right.
9 to 5 Google did this breakdown of Stadia 3.31, where they look at the code and they figure out not the code you put in on your controller, but the actual code written for the app. And they look at that code and they found a couple of things. One of the things that they found was about this thing called magic linking.
Mm.
So here's what it says on the 9 to 5 Google site. It says set up connecting via linking code. So that's where you're like ABXY or up left XB or whatever it is that you're your device tells you to do. You punch those numbers on your controller and it connects. And
Right.
that's setup code via linking code. And then they have setup code via magic linking. And then they have Stadia magic linking requested. Does this mean that we're going to have that seamless screen go from one screen to the next without having to repair your controller? What do you think, Lloyd?
I don't think so. I think this is going to be additional ways to pair any sort of controller to Stadia, where you would connect it to your phone first. Your phone is talking to your Stadia instance that is currently running, and then any controller that you connect to your phone would immediately start working on Stadia using the bridge mode that they have built in. That was in the APK for a while, and also built in where you could plug in a USB-C from your Stadia controller and plug it into a different controller. I think they're trying to make it a little bit easier with the new Play on TV thing, which is earlier up in this article, which is using your Android device as a wireless controller for Stadia. And I think they're going to take it a step further, where if you've already set up your phone as a controller, well, why don't you just use this Xbox controller that's paired with your phone as kind of like a wireless bridge mode thing. So I think that's more what it is. I'm definitely happy to be wrong, and that it's more it's easier than that. What I would really hope is, it's great buying new Apple devices and you just hold your devices next to each other. They
Mm-hmm.
figure out which devices are close based on Bluetooth, the Bluetooth
LE.
yeah. So but using kind of like how quick things respond, they can tell distance. It'd be nice if you could make your Wi-Fi controller work just by holding it near your TV, and it figures out, okay, we're on the same wireless network, okay, this just works. But I think this is more geared for a phone connection, and yeah, just pairing controllers to your phone and then using them for Stadia through that pair.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I agree with you. My hope is that we get to that seamless interaction where I can, because sometimes I'll be sitting here and playing a game, and I'll be like, all right, my wife will come in and she'll sit down on the couch that I can see right here, and I'll be like, oh, I'll come over and sit next to you. So I get up from here, I walk over, I sit down on the couch, and then I have to unpair my controller and repair it. And it's not a big deal. It's just
Mhm.
annoying.
Can,
And like, go ahead.
can I say one thing?
Yeah.
Why on the Chromecast with Google TV do you not have your linking code always visible somewhere, so you don't have to wait for Stadia to start so that you can then
Yeah.
remember what your linking code is? Like the Chromecast, the original CCU always has that linking code on the screen. I wish there was a flag where you could turn it on. I know you can't use your Stadia controller in the menu, and maybe that's why they don't want to do that. But it would be really nice, because I have multiples of these devices all over, and if I'm bringing a controller from one room to another, it's like, ah, damn it, what's the linking code for this one? Is it left X Y down, or is it A B up? I can't remember. So having that code on the screen at all times would be just, it would make things so much nicer.
Yeah, I do think that that's probably the reason, is because they don't want you to try and pair your controller and then it's not working. Why can't I push the thing over to wherever it's supposed to be? In
It would
fact,
be
if
nice.
you, like, I've got my remote right here. If you're using your Google TV thing and you hit the home button,
Mhm.
immediately your controller just shuts off. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like, yeah, I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah. It would be really nice for, oh, Two Dogs is saying there's an option in Google Home to display or not display the linking code. Really? I looked there for it. That must have been added recently. I'm gonna go see if I can find that and turn it on. It would be really nice that if I connect my controller, even though you can't use it in the menu, it would just start Stadia immediately and
Mhm.
not have to bring up the account selection and all that other stuff. It would just go right to the menu. They could clean up that interaction just a little bit to make it a little bit more user friendly.
Yeah, I agree with that. Anything else in the 3.31 that you wanted to talk about?
I don't think so. I don't
All
think so. I'm quickly going into Google Home to see if Two Dogs gave me the piece of info that I've been wanting for such a long time.
There you go. So let's take a look at these super chats that came in throughout the show. First off, if you didn't know, you can directly support the show by clicking on that super chat button down below. You send your message in, and obviously we talk to people throughout the show in chat. but it highlights your message so that we absolutely make sure that we see it. We got a couple of them. Before I actually get to these, I want to say thank you to Consigno, who did a super thanks on our previous episode. Just a real quick tell everybody what that means. It means it's kind of like a super chat, but after the fact. So thank you very much, Consigno, for supporting the show that way. Anthony Talcott sent in a super chat and they said, wish I could watch the show, but I'm super busy, so stay safe. Well, Anthony, thank you very much for that. And you stay safe as well. We do appreciate the support. And Two Dogs, who Lloyd is investigating his claims right now, said Mando would be so fun. And in addition to that, we did have a bunch of members in the past couple of days. So real quick, I'm going to say thank you to Tom O'Fallon, Sammy, Jacob, O'Dow Consigno, who I just mentioned, Hungry Moogle, Simulcur, Lucas Von Anger, and Matthew Hadfield. Thank you all for the support. You guys are fantastic. We really do appreciate it. Did you find something out, Lloyd?
No, I think it might only be the original CCU, because I know that was an option for the original CCU.
Yeah.
I don't have any hooked up now.
Me either.
So I can't see it. I just have Chromecast with Google TVs everywhere now, and I can't find it on any of them. So hopefully that comes in the future, just as a reminder for forgetful people like me.
Absolutely. And it's not just that you're forgetful, it's that you have so many different places to play.
Right.
So, I wish that they would do is let you pick your own code.
That would be the best.
Like,
right?
Because then I would be like, all right, so this room is A. This room is B. This room is X. This one is Y. And that would, it wouldn't solve everything, but it would make things a little bit better. Gem in chat says we need automated pairing instead of linking codes. Yes, I agree. That's kind of what they have. That's what basically what they have with the Luna controller. It just is connected to the service, and I still don't understand why this is the thing. It's connected to the service, not the screen. And I understand. Here's the real reason. Because they want you to be able to manipulate. There was this article that I read through from Stadia.dev, and I didn't put it in the show notes because I there was a lot of it that I didn't understand because it's made for devs.
Right.
But there was this article that I read on there that was talking about how they have the UI layer and then the APIs and then the Stadia layer behind that. And for some reason, Google decided, and I don't understand this, but maybe somebody else can explain. Google decided that you would control some of Stadia on the local device. And Lloyd and I have said a billion times that wouldn't it be better, mostly because of how slow and clunky it was on the Chromecast, wouldn't it be better if instead of doing that, just the entire UI and everything was on the server? Wouldn't that be a better experience? And that would completely get rid of the need for linking codes. It would make the same UI across my phone, my iPad, my TV, my Chrome browser, my Edge browser, whatever, wherever it is that I'm playing, everything would be the same. And we always have said that that would be like the best way to do it. But for some reason they don't do it. What do you think that reason is, Lloyd?
Yeah, I think because they have a lot of the control for your session is happening through the instance where you're connected to. So things like screenshots and bringing up the menu and stuff like that. They want it to tie into the local client. And it's actually pretty smart how they're doing it. They have like a JavaScript layer that is accepting all these ins and outs, kind of running the OS, bringing up your friends list and stuff like that. I kind of get why they would want to do that, just because it's more performant to have a local UI. Obviously not on the CCU though, because things got bogged down pretty big. But I would love for it to be fully rendered server side and sent to you over the stream. I mean, that's what what was the original service? I'm trying to think of the original. OnLive. OnLive did that. So you could look at a web page that had like 100 OnLive streams going on, what everybody's playing, and you could click on one and it would take you to look at that video. And they were just rendering all that server side. It would make so much more sense if they did that. They could add so many more features. but then again, they then have to make sure that this OS is running on the blade, and if you switch from one blade to another or from one location to another, it's still connecting you to the right blade. There must be a technical reason for doing it. That is more than what I can think of, but man, it would make things so much quicker, I think.
I wonder if it has to do with future proofing, where right now all the games are running on basically essentially the same thing. But
Right.
in the future, like they bring out new hardware that makes so you'll have blades that have this much RAM. You'll have blades that have this version of the GPU. You'll have blades that have this much RAM and this version of the GPU. And if you're
Yeah.
playing, I don't know, Killer Queen Black, you run on the lower power ones. And if you're
Right.
playing Cyberpunk 3, you're playing on the newer ones, and
Right.
not knowing where you're going to go means that they can't necessarily assign you stuff, so they have to have that front end. Maybe that's what it is.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I could see that. It would also make sense because from what we understand from the architecture, the blades that you're playing on, they have like beefy CPUs and beefy GPUs and some local storage and then network storage for all that stuff. But they also have like a chip that does all of the encoding, so it renders the right from the frame buffer at 4K, and then it encodes it and sends it out to the client. It would make sense if maybe the UI ran on those chips and have that as something that is the same across all the different blades. So whatever is doing the encoding has a controller there that runs the UI, and it can accept input from the controller. It can accept input from the game session to update states and things like that. But I mean, that would require a full re-engineering of what their hardware stuff is. So I can't see that happening anytime soon. But yeah, streaming all this stuff would be nice, and then you could even have a nice looking UI on the old CCU
Mhm.
for which there are a billion of them around the world, just gathering dust now. You could then drop that on any device and have a really amazing looking UI that would run server side, not local side.
Yeah, Gem in chat says instead of a pairing code, give me a button to press that says pairing mode, and then a new Stadia controller found, and then any new Stadia controller found is auto paired within the network.
Yeah.
I think I get what you're saying. I think that might be slower than just putting the 4 button presses in. So I'm not sure. I don't know. Listen,
Mm.
there's very, very smart people at Google. The idea that I can have an idea that they haven't already thought of is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna shut up now. But I will say that I wish it were better,
Yeah.
if that makes
Same.
sense.
Same.
All right, that does it for Stadiacast episode 125, I think. I
Wow.
can't believe we've been going for that long.
Crazy.
Thank you very much for hanging out and watching. If you're here with us live, if you're not here with us live, head on over to nerdnest.tv, subscribe, click the bell, all that stuff. And thank you to everybody who is here and hanging out with us, who remembered to click on that like button, because it really does help. Lloyd, why don't you tell everybody goodbye, and I will shut off the recording.
All right, everybody, take it easy. Have a good rest of your week. Get ready for those pro games coming up in just a few days, and we'll talk to you here next time on Stadiacast.
There we go. Save.
Wonderful. That was a good show, man.
It was.
And I
And-
want that Star Wars thing to be real so bad, but
But my shirt?
I like that Star Wars shirt, but no, I want the Mandalorian game to be so real. And but like I said, it's a real game. He's playing it, but it's just not a real game that you'll be able to purchase at any point in the future.
For those of you who are asking in chat about the D&D stream, one of our players had other plans today, so we're not playing D&D. We promise we're not playing D&D, and we're not playing D&D without you. We'll play D&D sometime soon. We just gotta wait. It's really tough when you have 5 adults,
Yeah.
who all have families and also all live in different time zones. Like, two of our players live in England, 2 of our players live in New York, and Lloyd lives in Canada, like mountain
In the
time zone.
Central, middle of the whole entire continent is where I
Right.
live.
So like it's really tough to coordinate that sometimes, but we'll get back to it. I promise. I've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes to try and make the campaign and stuff. And Lloyd, I expect to get a phobia for
I
your
saw that.
character.
I saw that. I got to figure out what would be the best for comedy wise. What's going to make the most comedy in the future?
There you go. All right, everybody. I think that we're good. And anything else before we wrap up, Lloyd?
I don't think so. Hopefully, September, the early September, we'll start getting back to normal, and then I can get on those streams. I know you guys want to see me play Paw Patrol. That is still going to happen at some point when I actually have some free time.
You're not me. I haven't even claimed it.
Oh wow, I did. I'll claim everything, as you can, as we've talked about in the past with my Epic Game and Steam library of like hundreds of games in each one that I never play. I'll claim anything. I'll give any game a chance to live in my library. Whether I play it, that's a completely different option.
Absolutely. All right. Have a good one, everybody.